Hello, my friend. Stay a while and listen.
What's going on, guys? It's Filthy and I'm back with another video. Today, just for funsies, we're going to try and see if we can work out which class has got the fastest start for Season 21. This is always from a solo perspective, and my personal bias does always make a way into this video, so let me know in the comments whether you think I've got this out of order. Let me know what you would go for your fastest start. Now, as I say, solo perspective, we're going to look at how easy is it to get stuff to 70, so what multipliers do you have access to early game to help get to your 2 and 4 piece bonus, how good are the 2 and 4 piece bonuses, because normally when you get your 6 piece that's unlocking the vast majority and bulk of your damage. When you do get your 6 piece bonus unlocked, how easy is it to set an end game viable build up, and can that build be used for lots of different things, so can it be used for speed drifting and pushing, and how good of a set basically is it. So that's all kind of how we're going to do it and approach it from a kind of casual point of view. Now, if you do enjoy Diablo 3, do hit the subscribe button, or at least consider it. I've got plenty of guides on the way. Most of these sets I've already covered on the channel, so I will link in the description where I do have guides, and the rest of them I will be filling out over the next few days. But that's enough rambling and enough intro. Let's jump in and give out the booby prize for last place. Now, absolutely no question in my mind, this is going to the Wizard. Wizard is one of those classes that I find is kind of hard to get to 70, because if you look at the level 1 loot pool, there really isn't anything great in terms of multipliers. Sure, you can get an unstable scepter, starfires in here, but they're quite hard to get. You're not going to roll your blood shards on them. Even if you look at the Hope of Cain, it is a pretty bleak situation. You're probably going to want to roll 1s, and even then there are quite a few in this loot pool that are just utter trash and will do nothing. You know, Black Hand Key, for instance, no modifier on it at all, so no guarantee you're going to have some multiplier whilst leveling, so that's a bit of a problem. And when you do get to 70, you start getting rewarded, and I'll put that in air quotes, with the firebird pieces. Firebirds is one of the hardest sets to play in this game. It is one of the least forgiving. It's got really paper thin damage reduction, and all in all, it's just something I find personally frustrating. Now, I have made a build that we can do GR 90 plus with 800 Paragon and fairly crummy gear and level 100 gems, so it's not like Firebirds is a complete lost cause, but there's no real reason to play it endgame. You can do much more damage with other sets and they don't come with any of the problems. But looking at the bonuses, the 2 piece is probably one of the worst in the game. You get a meteor that falls from the sky and revives you, so it's basically a cheat death, absolutely fairly worthless, not really much help to us in unlocking our season journey. 4 piece, we get a bleed effect, so 1000% weapon damage is fire when we hit an enemy with a fire spell, lasts for 3 seconds. We can do this again a second and third time with different fire skills. If we do hit with all 3 fire skills, we then ignite the enemy and they take 3000% weapon damage every second until they die. That sounds kinda good, damage over time, and it is a fair decent amount of damage on the 4 piece. There's 2 problems. One is you've got to hit with all 3 fire skills, so that's quite time consuming. You've got to activate 3 different spells on an enemy to get them burning. Also, you'll note there's no damage reduction, so no help doing your GR 20 clear with the 4 piece. In terms of toughness, it's literally you're going to be squishy, but you do deal a bit of area of effect, not area of effect, damage over time. The 6 piece is absolutely bonkers. You get 200% damage and 3% damage reduction for every ignited enemy. So that means you've got to hit them with 3 spells to get them ignited. This gives you a stack. You max out at 20 stacks, which is 4000% damage modifier and 60% damage reduction. Now, there is a shortcut. If you manage to get an elite monster ignited, you get the full 20 stacks. That's great, but then if you get too far away from the elite or the elite dies, those stacks drop off completely to 0 and you're left with no damage reduction and no damage modifier. What this means when you work through the torments is it's actually quite difficult, because obviously if you do get to 20 stacks, 4000% extra damage will generally speaking kill pretty much anything instantly as you move through the torments. That means your damage reduction drops and your damage drops as well. So it can be a very frustrating build to actually work up to a final set, because you'll find that you'll just kill stuff and then die and kill stuff and die, and that's obviously where the 2 piece is helpful, but even then I still would much rather have almost any different set to this. So as I say, personal bias maybe, I just don't like Firebirds, but I do have a guide if you do want to check it out. Now, it is flexible. You can run it with Explosive Blast, you can run it with the Chantodo set and do an Archon build. I ran it with Hydras and APDs, and that did make it very tanky, so we're not really relying on the 6 piece for the toughness until we actually find an elite. You can also do it with Meteor, albeit the nerfs to meteor items make that much harder. It is much harder to drag an enemy around the map, so this absolutely dead last choice for the season for me. If I was going to do Wizard, I might even consider just doing Legacy of Dreams, because it would probably be less painful to me. But as I say, maybe I'm just biased, let me know in the comments. Moving into 6th, we have the Crusader, who's going to get the Thorns Invoker set. Now Sada has got a fairly easy time up to level 70, because at level 1 we've got some pretty good multipliers that we can get just with our blood shards. So you can get a Denial Shield, which will buff up sweep attacks, that's pretty good. Personal favourite is the Guard of Johanna, because that buffs Blessed Hammer, which is a great skill for levelling. It's very hard and doesn't use much resource. You can also get the Gabriel's Van Braces at level 1, so that will give us a refund to the resource, so we can spam out hammers and do a lot of damage. Also pairing really well with Invoker is the Heart of Iron, so again this is in the loot pool at level 1, so lots of stuff you can grab which will help you improve your character. Now looking at the 2-piece Invoker, we get Thorns, which deals damage to enemies in 15-yard radius. That's quite nice for the 2-piece. We also juice up our Thorns whenever we hit with Punish, Slash or Block an attack, so again we can get this Thorns figure pretty high. And you can also put a yellow gem in your weapon whilst you look for your Thorns gem, which is your Biarski's chip. Now 4 pieces where we run into a few problems. We take 50% less damage for 20 seconds after damaging an enemy with Bombardment. That's on a really long cooldown, and it isn't really until you get the Belt of the Trove that this becomes pretty easy. Every 6 to 8 seconds Bombardment will auto cast for us, and then we can keep this toughness buff up permanently. But other than that, it is situational toughness, because as I say, you've got to activate Bombardment, and then yeah, it drops off basically. 6 piece we get 50% attack speed on Punish and Slash, as well as 15,000% of our Thorns applied to the first enemy hit. This hits really hard, but it only hits single targets, so it's only the enemy that you're actually whacking that you're going to get the Thorns on. Now the good news is every Invoker piece drops with Thorns on natively, so your Thorns figure will go up fairly quickly. And you can do pretty much any weapon, any shield, any kind of jewelry combo, chest piece. There are obviously best in slot things that we go through in the guide, but it is fairly easy to chuck a decent Invoker Thorns build together. The downside is because it's so single target focused, it's very hard to get keys and it is very hard to speed drift. So that's literally the only reason it is in 6th. It is a very strong build for the Crusader, easily GR 100 plus viable with decent gear, and maybe only about 800-900 Paragon, but without having a speed option you're going to have to set something else up, so we're going to give it 6th. So taking us into 5th, we're going to give this to the Monk, and the Monk is going to start with some Wukus. At level 1 there are loads of really good multipliers you can get. Riviera Dancers are in the loot pool, so they buff up Lashing Tail Kick. Obviously you might end up with the Crudest Boots, so it's not certain you're going to get them. Braces is a pretty good shout. You can get Pinto's Pride, which buffs Wave of Light, Gundo Gear, which buffs Exploding Palm, or a Caesar's Memento that buffs Tempest Rush, which obviously 2 of these braces pair really well with some Wuku, because we're kind of restricted to skills on that, so either of those would be pretty good. Now some Wukus, 2-piece, we basically just get damage reduction. Sweeping Wind, it is possible to keep this up permanently throughout a rift, so 50% damage reduction is pretty handy on a 2-piece. Kind of means that we can ramp up the difficulty fairly easy. 4-piece, every second Sweeping Wind spawns a decoy and gives 1000 weapon damage when it explodes. For every stack of Sweeping Wind, you're pretty much going to be at 3 stacks until you find yourself a Vengeful Wind fist weapon. Now 6-piece, Lashing Tail Kick, Tempest Rush, Wave of Light all have the damage increased by 1500% for every Sweeping Wind stack that we have. So as we say, you have 3 stacks, so that's a 4.5k damage mod. But once you do find this particular fist weapon, your stacks go up to 13 and you get mega damage. So this really is the key to setting up a Sunwuko Monk. Once you find this, it is plain sailing. Now you can go various different ways. You can run Tempest Rush, which is probably the top build for the Monk at the moment. You can do Wave of Light, in which case you'll need a Zokin's Gaze in the helm slot, or you can even do Lashing Tail Kick. So there are quite a few builds. And one of the great things about Sunwuko is it's really good at everything. So it's really good at getting keys, it's really good at speed farming, and it's actually really good for pushing. So it's a kind of do-all set. The only downside I see, and the only reason I've put it in 5th, is because you need this one single specific fist weapon, and there are quite a lot in the loot pool, so it makes it a little bit fiddly to set up. But once you do get it, once you get this weapon, you're absolutely flying. Moving us into 4th, I've gone for the Witch Doctor, and that is going to be with the Jade Harvester build. Now, Witch Doctor's got a really easy time of actually getting to level 70. Massacre bonusing is an absolute piece of cake. And with the Gazing Demise being buffed, this was always one of the strongest starts to get to 70. And now it's even easier because this particular mojo is even better. It's the only one in the pool, so you've got quite a high chance of getting it as well. You can also stick it in the cube and then it's going to be plain sailing all the way, so you don't even have to worry about your Hope of Cain upgrade to get off to a pretty good start. And when you do get to 70, you're going to start to get Jade pieces. 2 pieces are actually really good if you get a double haunt on something, so if it's already affected by haunt, you plop haunt on it again, you instantly get 3,500 seconds worth of haunt applied, which is really good damage increase. 4 pieces really nice as well. Soul Harvest, which is one of the really good skill for the Witch Doctor, gains every single rune and gets its cooldown reduced by 1 second every time you cast Haunt or Locust Swarm. Synergizes really well with the 2-piece, so no problem getting this 6-piece bonus. Now for the 6-piece, Soul Harvest gives 50% damage reduction for 12 seconds and consumes or damage over time's effects instantly, so it kind of like detonates this 10,000 seconds worth of remaining damage. The only downside I see is that the damage reduction is coming on the 6-piece, but you still shouldn't have too much difficulty getting your GR20 busted out. Now Jade is really powerful, and the key to it really is going to be your Ring of Emptiness. So this one specific ring is fairly hard to get because obviously there are loads of rings in the pool, but it's a 300% damage mod. Other than that, you can set up lots of different flexible pieces. Obviously again, there are always best in slot things that you can find for this. I have done Jade Guide when I think it was season 17, so I will redo it because we've had some new items to the game, so this is on the to-do list. But again, it is pretty flexible. There isn't too much that you need to do. Just get Haunt on, keep looking for this ring, and it's a fairly decent power increase, but it's not absolutely essential. I mean, it is for endgame obviously, but you know what I'm getting at is you can make a powerful Jade Witch Doctor as you level yourself up and get to this. So really quick to 70, nice set, not too finicky to set up, so yeah, pretty good. Moving us into 3rd place, we're going to go for the Barbarian. This is maybe where my personal bias comes in, because again, this is one of my absolute favourite sets in the game, which is the Might of the Earth. The Barb has really easy access to multipliers whilst levelling, again mainly in braces, so we can get Seismic Slam braces or Hammer of the Ancients. The Seismic Slam ones will pair really well with the set, so again, very easy to get this at level 1. Barb is just so easy to play at a high difficulty early because you can come back, make a level 1 alt character and get a Band of Might for the cube, giving you 80% damage reduction. So Barb is just lightning quick to put together once you get up to 70, and with the multipliers in here it is pretty good. Even your Hope of Cain, you've got some pretty nice options. So the one-handed mighty weapons category, quite a lot of them have got multipliers. Same for the two-handed mighty weapons, you might get something good. If you're looking for Blade of the Tribes, which would make a Leapquake build, or maybe a Fjord Cutter, which would buff up Seismic Slam. Looking at the Might of the Earth 2-piece, we get this really cool effect. So we get cooldown on Earthquake, Avalanche, Leap and Ground Stomp by 1 second for every 30 Fury spend with an attack. That's absolutely great. 4-piece Leap causes an earthquake when you land. Additionally, Leap gains Iron Impacts, even more toughness. The rune's effect and duration is increased as well, so Leapquake is very strong. Then the 6-piece Earthquake, Avalanche, Leap, Ground Stomp, Ancient Spit and importantly Seismic Slam get a 20k damage mod. So there is quite a lot you can do. Leapquake, you're going to need a Girdle of Giants. This is in the loot pool at level 1, so it could go in the cube in theory if you wanted. Also Loot Socks, which are a pair of boots, are available at level 1, so again they normally go in the cube on a Leapquake Barb, so again really easy to put together. And you just need a Blade of the Tribes, and this is not that hard to get because there aren't too many two-handed mighty weapons. Also, you could go for the Slam Barb, so Fjord Cutters and again Seismic Slam braces are very easy to get in the cube. So Barb's got quite a few options, lots of multipliers to help us get up to 70. I think the 2 and 4 piece are both fairly decent, and once you get 6 piece, 20k damage mod and Seismic Slam will absolutely crunch stuff. Leapquake is fairly fast to come together. But as I say, that might be my personal bias, and maybe the Witch Doctor should have been in 3rd. So personal bias probably creeping into this. 2nd place I've gone for Necro, which is going to start with the Grace of Inarius. Leveling a Necro is normally pretty easy. You've got some really good multipliers you can get, and also you've got pets to kind of massacre bonus. But with Corpse Explosion being buffed and with Grasp of Essence being buffed, Corpse Explosion now whilst leveling will hit super hard. It's like a kind of 5 or 6 times increase if you get these gloves, and with the base skill being increased, it hits really hard and you'll have no problems leveling your Necro. Plus, your Hope of Cain upgrade is going to be a guaranteed multiplier for a two-handed scythe, so all in all, getting to 70 should be a breeze. And when you do get to 70, you're going to start to find inarius pieces. Now, the 2-piece bone armor gets a 1000% damage increase. Bone armor is like an area of effect damage skill on a 10-second cooldown, so it's pretty good. This is fairly nice for 2-piece. The 4-piece bone armor grants an additional 2% damage reduction per enemy hit. This is actually going to be 3% on live, so that will give you a nice 60% damage reduction, which is obviously pretty handy because you can stack your bone armor up to 10 times. Normally gives 3%, so 6% would be 60. Now, a key to making inarius very tough is going to be the Wisdom of Kalon, which will give us up to 15 stacks of bone armor, and if you do find this, then that is 90% damage reduction on the 4-piece, which is obviously bonkers strong. You do have to find the necklace though. 6-piece bone armor activates a swirling tornado of bone, which deals damage to enemies whenever they get hit, so it kind of melts stuff, which is really good, and it means that you get a flat 10k damage mod to anything that you tag with your tornado. Now, one of the reasons that Necro is just so fast is because there are so many multipliers you can get. You can now take a Jasseth, which will give you 400% damage against everything. There's only 4 scythes in the pool, there's only 4 shields to pair this up with. You'd also get Scythe of the Cycle, buffing up secondary skills, so mages, Nova, all those types of things, Bone Spear. You can get a Tragul's Corroded Fang, you just have to get a Curse on something for another 200% damage. All in all, there's lots of options for buffing up the damage. We have done quite a few inarius guides on Lazymancer, on Nova, on also Corpse Explosion, and Corpse Explosion would be what I go for because it's very easy to get these Grasp of Essence gloves in the cube, a 10k damage mod. I think the necklace is probably pretty crucial. 90% damage reduction for the Necro is amazing, and yeah, it's a very fast start. You just need a little bit of RNG on the necklace, but if you don't get it, there are some other things you can do to boost up the inarius toughness. Flat 10k damage mod with such easy access to other multipliers for me means Necro is going to be very fast with the Corpse Explosion out the gate. So in first place we have the Demon Hunter with the Shadow Impale build. This is really easy to put together and just deals so much damage, it is bonkers. Now in terms of getting to 70, Demon Hunter can be a little slow, even though you will get a guaranteed multiplier with your Hope of Cain upgrade. So you upgrade a dagger and you're going to get either a Carle's point or a Lord Greenstone's fan. What I found is that neither of these are particularly helpful and you might still want to go with Chakram whilst leveling. Welcome Kenneth. And then at 31 you want to roll your blood shards on a quiver, hoping to hit a holy point shot, but you might hit Cincy because both of them have got a multiplier, and the Spines of Seething Hatred basically make Chakram a generator, so again all 3 of these are pretty good for leveling. So you shouldn't have too much of a hard time getting to 70, and when you do you're going to get the Shadow set. Now the 2-piece is nuts. This has got to be the best 2-piece in the game, or certainly one of them. When holding a melee weapon you're going to get a 6k damage mod. When I first got my Nintendo Switch and started leveling up Demon Hunter, with just this and a little bit of Paragon and some supporting items, you could do Torment 10. It's absolutely bonkers. All you need to do is make sure you've got a melee weapon and you will be absolutely good to go on the 2-piece. 4-piece is really nice as well. Shadow Power gains the effect of every rune and lasts forever. You get damage reduction, you get life per hit, you get move speed. Loads of really cool things with this. So again, absolutely no problem getting the 6-piece. And when you do, Impale will give you 75,000% weapon damage to the first enemy hit. Absolutely bonkers strong for single target. So crucial gear pieces for the Impale Demon Hunter are going to be Carle's points, which you may have in the queue, but you're going to want another one for your character. And then the Holy Point Shot, which will give Impale 2 additional knives, and when the patch goes live, give us an extra 100% damage as well, so double damage, which is great. The Chain of Shadows is fairly important because this will basically allow you infinite teleports, because after you use Impale you basically get free vaults. Very easy to put together. There's obviously, as we say, only the 2 daggers. Quivers, you get one fairly quickly and you'll get this belt fairly quickly, and after that you just kind of putting a few icing cake pieces, so Dawn, stuff like that. Now all in all, this has got to be one of the fastest, best push builds that you can get. It's also really good for speeding because you've got such high mobility with the Chain of Shadows. You can hop around the map really quickly. So like whereas Invokers is really slow, this is the exact opposite. You can just whiz around the map, melt stuff, and it is very good. So personally for me, I think the fastest start is going to be the Demon Hunter, just because the 2-piece is amazing, the 6-piece is amazing, the 4-piece is pretty good. It's so easy to set up with there only being 2 daggers in the loot pool. Yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty fast start. Now, whether you want to play this all season, I presume you want to go off onto the Gears of Dreadland set. That's obviously going to be pretty strong, but all in all, Demon Hunter, Necro, I think they're the 2 classes most people will be playing. I do think they probably are going to be 2 of the certainly quickest that we've got access to getting to endgame. That's it, guys. As I say, let me know your thoughts. Where have I screwed up? What would you do differently? Which class are you planning on playing next season? I'll be back with some more build-up material just as soon as I can. Take it easy. Peace.